Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to another episode of First Fridays. Wow, we're in July, and today's actually the 4th of July, so happy 4th to my American family and friends. I hope that you're all having a great time and enjoying safely and responsibly wherever you are. Today is going to be an interesting episode because, like I said in my post this morning, I'm just going to ramble. I'm going to ramble because my mind is mangled with a whole bunch of thoughts and I just need to talk it out. Ordinarily, I would write my thoughts, but I miss interacting with people sometimes. Funny that I say that, but I do. Um, and so sometimes I just want to hear your feedback on how to process what I'm trying to process in my mind. So, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you'll know that I had set out to do a live every first Friday of the month for the year. And you may also have noticed that I announced that the June first Friday, but it actually didn't happen. Ironically, the topic for June was rest. Rest in a hustle culture. And it turned out that that's exactly what I needed. I suddenly wasn't feeling well on that Friday morning. I didn't call off the live because I thought I could still make it, but by the evening, I wasn't able to do it. And then I thought I could do it the following day or the Saturday or the Sunday on the weekend, but I was still not feeling very well, so I didn't end up doing it at all. Um, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, rest is important, and those of you who know me know that I'm a big advocate for self-care because I always feel that each of us have an assignment in this world, and we cannot accomplish our assignments if our vessels are broken, if our vessels are not in a healthy place. And so while there's a lot of spiritual things we have to do, pray, do whatever, there's also some very natural and physical things that we need to do, which are, rest and eat well and exercise and all that stuff. Um, Speaking of exercise, I'm trying my bit. I really am trying my bit. Um, my day is so jam packed with stuff to do. My day starts really early and most of the time during the week ends really late. But I do try to squeeze in a bit of a run walk. It used to be a run, it's turning into a run walk now. Um, just because, my bones sometimes go, how old do you think you are? Um, and I try to fit in a bit of exercising and workouts on the days that I don't run. Um, yeah, I know it doesn't look like it at all, but I do try. I do try. I'm not as religious as my sons are with the gym, but I do try. I do. But I am seated a lot during the day, so I'm actually doing this. I'm actually recording this standing up because I need to stretch my back a little bit. Okay, back to today's topic. I thought I was going to have a bit of an honesty moment and just ramble my thoughts out. And hopefully, if someone is watching this and you know some scriptures that can help me, please shoot them my way. Let me know what they are. I'll look them up, I'll read them. Because honestly, um, I know that God is my strength. I know that God speaks to us in many different ways, um, yet in the same way, if that makes sense. Like you can read a scripture today and it means something to you today because of the season you're in, and then you can read it again a few months later and it totally opens your eyes to something else. And that's just amazingness. Is that a word? Amazingness of God. So, yeah, if you do have any scriptures that can help me, please send them my way. So, I feel like I'm dealing with fear and insecurity at the moment. It's and the fear and insecurity is coming from having always grown up. I think those who know me know that I lost my parents at a very young age. And so being the eldest of six, I always felt like I had to have a plan. I had to know what to do next, right? So after my mom died first and then my dad. And so after my dad died, it's like we had no adults to go to say, okay, we need school fees, we need, rent needs to be paid, we needed a place to stay, all those kind of things. And it just felt like it all fell on my shoulders. And somehow I just developed this whole, I need to have a plan. And then if that plan doesn't work out, I need to have a backup plan. And just in case that backup plan doesn't work out, I need to have another backup plan. So, really, honestly speaking, I've lived my life as a plan A, B, C, D type of girl. I've always got a backup plan. Even if it's just going on a weekend trip away, I have a backup plan. My sisters laugh at me when I travel with them because they call me the bag lady. Yes, I'm calling you out, Florence and Susan. They call me the bag lady because I always bring the emergency kit supplies. So obviously, I'm going to have more bags than them. You know, in case someone gets sick, here's Pepto Bismol if someone gets an upset tummy. In case someone has nausea, I have something. In case someone has a migraine, I have someone. In case someone cuts their finger, I have band-aids. In case we get thirsty, I have an extra water bottle. In case it rains, I have an umbrella. You know, I've always, almost all my adult life, I've always been like that. I've always got an in case something. Even when we're at a resort and we're just going to the beach, in case we need something and nobody wants to walk all the way back to the room, I'll have it. I'll have it with me. So that's who I am. I'm your in case of emergency lady. Um, and I think now not having being in situations where I find myself not having a backup plan or not being able to make one um, because I'm at a loss just makes me feel so vulnerable and just so, the words that come to my mind is open to attack, you know, unsafe. So, yeah, you know, we can look at it from a career perspective. Career perspective, there's all these advances in technology and AI, and, you start to wonder, like, how does this impact my job? All the talks that are happening between the US and Canada, and you wonder, if you work for, I work for an organization that has one foot in both countries, and then you're like, how does this, how does this affect me? Maybe it doesn't even, but those are things I worry about. What if something happens and, how will I do what I need to do if I don't have the finances or the income that I need to have? Um, then you go on to your kids and you worry, like, did I teach them right? What did I not teach? What did I miss? What if they don't, catch their train when it's time for them to catch their train because I've spoiled them so much and they can't fly on their own wings? Um, so these are things that you just worry. You're like constantly praying and constantly asking God to order their steps, but you get to this vulnerable moment where you're like, dear God, I know you're there. I know you hear my prayers. I know you hear my heart's cry. But I'm also fearful because of what I see around me. And I'm in a humanity moment where it's just hard to say, yes, God is in control. And it's really what it is for me. It feels like a conflict between my heart and my mind. I know that I know that I know that God is real. I know that I know that I know that He hears my every prayer. That is my very present help in time of trouble. I can recount many times that God has shown up for me. But I'm not a superhuman, neither am I a deity. I am just an ordinary girl. And today, or rather these last few weeks, I've been in this place where what is surrounding me day after day points in a totally different direction. And I find myself struggling with, God, are you there? Can you hear me? Do you see this, God? Do you care? Uh, should I make a plan? And I think my default setting is yes, make a plan. Do something because God's obviously busy with somebody else. But I've been there, done that, and my plans sometimes they don't work out the way I expect them to. And maybe you're like that too. Maybe you've also tried to make your own plans, take matters into your own hands, so to speak. Listen, loving God, honoring God, knowing who God is, many of us still make our own plans. And then we ask God to make our plans work out. Maybe I'm the only one. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm the only one. But I'm sure I'm not. Where we make a plan and then we say, God, come into my plan and make it work. That's where I've been. Where I've made plans and then I said, God, come and make my plan work out. Sometimes God is so kind and so loving, it all works out. But sometimes, most times, God shows me that was never my divine purpose for you. And some of those lessons are hard. Some of them are heartbreaking. Some of them are actually painful. But through it all, God will still say, I'm here. I'll walk you through the pain. I'll heal you. But next time, just wait for me. Just wait for me. Act when I say so. So you see, I'm rambling, I know. I'm rambling. But I know it all. I know what I need to know. Let me rephrase that. I don't know it all. I know what I need to know. I know what I need to do. I know who God is for me. But my mind is overwhelming me with all these what ifs and, you know, maybe God's forgotten you. Maybe you have so much sin God can't look at you. So yeah, if you know some scriptures or you have a word from God when you pray for me, to just remind me He's got me, I'd so appreciate that. And if you're walking through the same thing, let me know and I will join with you in prayer. You know, this walk with Christ is not smooth. It's not smooth sailing. It's not always on the high. There's some days when we're just in the valleys, um, and struggling with things, whether it be sin or whether it be addictions or just disappointment, And I think for me, there's a lot of disappointment in my life. There's a lot of things that haven't turned out the way I'd hoped or expected that they would. And in my impatience, I tried to fix them myself and probably just made things worse. um, or just detoured further from God's plan for my life. And so I had to do the work to come back into alignment with His purpose. And maybe you've gone through that yourself too. So I'm here to encourage you as much as I'm seeking encouragement from you. Uh, let's just be honest and open people. Society teaches us to always show our best. When you browse through social media, there's this famous saying that they say, don't compare your life to someone's social media reel, because it's like after three, four, five takes, and it looks so perfect and all that, and that's not their real life. And that's so very true. But it doesn't mean that we don't go through that. We still go through the woe is me, lucky them um, periods in life. And it's in those moments that we need each other. We need to encourage each other, build each other up, and just remind each other that, you know, I always tell my kids, your fingers are not the same length. And the reason why your fingers are not the same length, it's not because any one of them is more important than the other. It's just because they all serve a different purpose. And so the same as you and I, our giftings, our abilities, our strengths, and our weaknesses are not the same. We all we're all here to serve a different purpose. But when we work together, just as your fingers work together to make your hand be able to do certain things, that's when we accomplish great things. That's when exploits are accomplished. And so I'm just here trying to be open and vulnerable and share a little bit of what my season is looking like. Um, and the funny thing is, God has been actually so good to me. Um, when I shift my focus onto all the positive things that have happened, I actually this morning was looking at my vision board and I was just like, oh my gosh, this check is done, this check it happened, this check it happened. And I'm asking myself, so where is this dissatisfaction coming from? Um, and maybe, um, maybe it's partly being a high achiever. Maybe it's also being impatient and not trusting God in to do things in His timing. Um, and maybe it's comparison, you know. Maybe it's looking at others and saying, "Wow, their life's going great. They have it all together." And you're looking at your own life and going, "Where did I go wrong? What am I missing?" Um, but I wanted to be here just vulnerable and open and say, I might be smiling and happy on a lot of social media pictures. That's not in my everyday. There are some days that it's a struggle to get out of bed. Um, it's a struggle to get on some of my calls at work and put on a smile. That's these on-camera calls. I work remotely, so a lot of almost all my meetings are um, virtual, right? So there are days when I just appreciate those people who don't turn on their cameras, because then I don't feel obligated to turn on mine. But then there are days when I'm just so joyous and so happy, and so, come on, turn on your camera. I haven't seen you in a bit. And I'm also realizing that just because I'm in that happy space doesn't mean that the next person is. And so I have to be cognizant of that as well when in my virtual dealings. But if you're watching and A, if you're in a good space and you know some words and scriptures that you can share, that we can all read and be encouraged and be strengthened and lifted up, please share them. Please comment and share. And B, if you are just like me, walking in a valley season, maybe it's not even a season, maybe it's just a few days, maybe it's been a couple weeks, and you just don't like where you are mentally, then share. You can even just message me and let's pray together. Let's encourage and build one another up. The Bible instructs us to bear one another's burdens and to be there for each other. You know, I was talking to my cousin this week, and we're discussing something else, but she just said, Jessica, mental health is a thing. And those words resonated with me because I think growing up in Africa, I'm going to carefully say it was quite taboo. Um, I mean, if people had mental health issues, it was those ones that were really blatantly obvious, like sleeping outside, going homeless, talking to themselves, like blatantly mental health. But there's people who are dealing with things, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, even suicidal thoughts, and still functioning, where you can, just from looking at them, you can't even tell what they're going through. And nobody stops to just check in and say, hey, you okay? Without trying to be just, no, there's people who just want to know what's going on in your life, not because they care, but they just want to know that they're beating you, they're better than you, or I can't even explain it right now. But you know what I'm talking about. Uh, I think a friend of mine posted something about there's people who send you a friend request not because they really want to be your friend, but because they want to be a CCTV camera or something like that. And I thought that was very true. That's very true. So no, if you're trying to be a CCTV camera, this is not the space for you. But if you want someone to pray with you, someone to join with you, um, and you need a safe space, then this is the place for you. So I pray that in my being vulnerable, um, I've helped you, and that you would then use your God given gifts and skills and talents to help me. And that's how we build one another up and bear each other's burdens. So that's my ramble for this month's first Friday. I also love Fridays because usually I don't have anything to do in the rest of the evening, and so I'll pick up my crochet and work. And crocheting, honestly, has been therapy. If you don't crochet, I encourage you to try it, or knitting, or something creative like that with your hands, whether it's painting, paint rocks if you have to. What it does is that it teaches you that little steps lead to a beautiful thing in the end. So it teaches you the patience that you need in life. Look at me, I'm preaching to myself. These are the things I need to tell myself. It teaches you the patience, step by step. And sometimes you make mistakes and you've got to undo it and start again, or read the pattern again, read the word again, follow God's plan again, and then do it again. And once you get it right, It becomes a rhythm and becomes easy, and you just do it without even thinking twice about it, without even feeling anxiety or scared that you'll make a mistake. And so I find that it's very therapeutic that way. And it also just lets your mind rest. Your mind rest from worry and troubles, and just calm down, because when those thoughts are going through at a very high speed, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and then you just crash. But I find being creative with your hands allows your mind to slow down and look at things step by step. If it's painting, it's color by color, brush stroke by brush stroke. If it's knitting or crocheting, it's stitch by stitch. Maybe it's needlework or some kind of tapestry, whatever it is. Find something creative to do with your hands. Maybe it's even just gardening. It's summer here where I am. So, maybe it's just planting something and then watching it grow, or pulling out weeds in a garden and then watching that beauty of the soil just show through. Um, Whatever it is, find your creative outlet, because I promise you, it'll be good for you. It'll be good for you. All right, I've rambled enough, and I want to thank you for being so patient and listening all the way to the end. Again, if you can, share some scriptures, some words of encouragement, and if you need prayer or you need someone to talk to, just send me a message. If I'm not able to talk, I know some people who are and who would pray with you as well. So, other than that, I want to wish you a very blessed rest of the weekend. Be safe, enjoy, and always remember, I love you. Take care. Bye.